about me that says when I was 6 months old, I would stand up in my crib and try to sing the Valkyrie song from Wagner's famous opera. If that legend is true, it's just because that's what I heard coming from my father's studio next door to my bedroom. Mr. Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, I was surrounded by music from the time of my conception. My father was a professional musician, a singer, played the organ, he played the piano, he taught voice, he directed choirs. So music was part of the atmosphere in my home. He was my first music teacher. At some point, he taught me how to play the piano, and he taught me how to read music. As a matter of fact, I can't remember whether I learned how to read music or books first. That's how long ago this process happened. So I learned to play the piano at a very young age. When I was 9 years old, I began taking violin lessons. When I was 13 or 14 years old, I joined my father's church choir that he was directing. And when I was about 15, I had my first solo in front of that choir and in front of that church. It was Christmas time, and the music was called Mary's Lullaby. It went something like this. Amid the roses Mary sits and rocks her Jesus child. Now, just like today, when I started, I was shaking. My voice was shaking. My whole body was shaking. But after I got into the song and I looked out at the audience, and they were enchanted. I had them in the palm of my hand. What a wonderful feeling that was! And I was hooked. I love performing in front of an audience when it comes to song, music. The year I was 17, I lived and worked in Stuttgart, Germany. And the house I lived in and worked in as a mother's helper was right across the street from a church. And I would go there on Wednesday evenings to practice with the church choir. And sometimes I could get away to perform on Sundays. The choir was very, very welcoming, and the music felt very familiar because I was raised in the Lutheran tradition, and this was they call it an evangelical church, but it was the same tradition. So the songs were the same, just now they were in German. But I had another reason I liked to go to choir practice, and that was Herr Dr. Helmut Rilling. Oh, he was gorgeous. I'm telling you, he was an older man. He's probably 27 at this point. Dark, handsome, polite, old world manners. I had a big crush on Helmut. Because I was in that choir and he was the director, I had the opportunity to be in a bigger choir, one of 2 choirs and a full symphony orchestra that had a concert at the Stiftskirche in downtown Stuttgart. The Stiftskirche is a very old Gothic church in downtown Stuttgart. And I was part of a choir, which was part of 2 choirs and a big orchestra, all directed by Dr. Rilling. It was wonderful. My part in this performance, of course, was very small. But again, I was making music to an appreciative audience. And I loved it. I just loved it. I returned to the US, obviously. Went back into my father's choir. And then life intervened. And for decades, the only singing I did was either to the radio, in the car, on the way back and forth to work, or on Friday mornings. My Rotary Club sings a song every Friday morning. Until October 1st of 2007, I became a full-fledged member of High Desert Harmony Chorus. High Desert Harmony Chorus is a chapter of Sweet Adelines. Sweet Adelines is barbershop for women. So you have 4 voices, a cappella, no accompaniment. You get the key note when you start. You have to find your note and then stay in tune while you weave around the other parts. And when a chorus rings those chords, it is heavenly. Unfortunately, my chorus is at the bottom of our region. We're not very good. We don't have very many gigs. So, July of last year, I was really burnt out on Sweet Adelines. And I started thinking, well, what else could I do? What else could I do? So I thought, well, maybe I'll learn to play an instrument. I thought about the balalaika. That's a whole nother story. I thought about the balalaika. I thought about the banjo. I thought about the ukulele. Not the guitar. Everybody plays the guitar. I didn't want to play the guitar. Then I got to talk to Michael Bassett, who is a music teacher. And he said, you know, Martha, the mandolin is tuned just like a violin. I thought, oh, that'll make it easy, right? That'll make it easy. And Josh Burns helpfully loaned me his mandolin for several months. I had that thing. In November, I bought my own mandolin. And last month, I started taking lessons. And today is my debut. Are y'all excited? So let's see. I'm going to sing and play a few measures from Red River Valley. Come and sit by my side when you love me. Do not hate.